Hey, welcome to Atlee Church. We're so glad that you decided to join us for today's service, no matter where you find yourself on your spiritual journey. Just to let you know a little bit about Atlee, Atlee is a safe place for those who've given up on church or never went. And our mission is simple: to reach seekers and equip believers to love God, love themselves, love others, and serve the world. Now, if you want more information about who we are as a church or ways for you to get connected, make sure to check out our website at atleechurch.org, or you can also visit us on social media or download our app. And we hope today that you find the service helpful and also encouraging no matter where you are in life right now. So let's get started with today's service. Well, hello everyone. Y'all doing all right? So here's the deal. I know those here in Mechanicsville, you saw that we were going to have this giant hot air balloon, and Jeff didn't tell you the whole story about that. So we were going to have it, but then they started to blow it up. They had the balloon up and everything. It was going great. And then Jeff walked over and they said, "Oh my gosh, there's so much hot air coming from somewhere that it popped the balloon." So they'd never seen anything like it. So hopefully we'll be able to try again next week. So thank y'all for being patient with us with that. But at least you got to see some hot air. It was kind of fun. And yeah, they were just blown away by that. So it was awesome. So today we are continuing in this series. We are trying to figure out and discuss the idea of who we are as a church. And as I was thinking about today, it brought me to a question I want you to think about in your own life where you've experienced this in your life personally. But have you ever been somewhere that you had a bad experience or you just felt like you didn't belong there? Anybody have a moment like that in their life? Where you went somewhere you felt like you didn't belong, or you just had a horrible experience where you would never go back? Well, I was thinking about today and revisiting my past, and I was thinking about this moment where my wife and I, we woke up one fall morning. It was a beautiful day. It was like that temperature in the fall it's not too hot, it's not too cold, and we wanted to get out and do something together as a family. And so it was fall time, and we started looking online, and we found out there was a local place a few years ago doing this pumpkin patch. And we thought, wow, that would be great. We have 2 younger boys, and we thought that would be fun to go take them to. So we pile in my truck, and we head to this particular pumpkin patch. And when we get there, it was kind of confusing because there was no signs to tell you where to go or what to do. And so we're kind of looking around, and we saw some other families there. So we just kind of follow the crowd, and we're looking around, and there's nothing to be said about where anything was. And so we were really confused. But then all of a sudden, my oldest son loves tractors. We see this tractor pull up, and there's this hayride. And so I was like, great, that'd be a great way to entertain them while we figure out what to do. So my wife was like, don't worry, I'll go find the pumpkin patch. You take the kids on the hayride. They'll have a great time. We'll reconvene in a little bit. Well, so I get the boys on the hayride, and we're having a good time. And so I was like, man, this hayride's getting longer and longer and longer. And I'm like, what have I decided to take our kids on here? You know, like, when is this going to end? Eventually, this tractor's going to run out of gas. Well, then he stops the tractor all of a sudden, pulls on the brakes, and goes, time to get out. And I was like, for what? You know, like, we got to go back to get my wife to pick the pumpkins. And he's like, time to pick your pumpkins. And I was like, oh no, we've left my wife back at the farm. And so I was like, okay, kids, we cannot tell mom what we're about to do right now. So we got off the tractor, we picked the pumpkins, we put them on the trailer, and all I could think of on the way back on this hayride was, how do I describe this to my wife that she just missed out on our first time picking pumpkins with our children, right? Like, to wives, this is a big deal. Guys are like, whatever. But girls, y'all are serious about these moments. And so I've learned not to mess them up in my life, but right now I can see the story playing out in my head that this is not going to go over well when we return from the tractor ride. And so already we pull up with the tractor and I could see my wife and tears are flowing. I was like, she knows what we did. And so we get off the tractor and I'm like, babe, I'm so sorry. We had no idea. And she goes, I can't believe I just missed that moment. And I'm like, it really wasn't that big of a deal. Like, it was fine. The kids hated it, and they're like, Dad, look at the pumpkins. And I'm like, guys, stop, tell Mom this was bad. And so she goes over to the person that's over there and goes, listen, I just want to tell you about my experience. I'm like, oh gosh, here it goes. All right. They're about to get an earful. And so she tells them how bad the experience was. And trust me, there was a line of other moms that were having this bad experience too. So I'm like, yes, we're not the only one creating this awkward tension with this farm. And so we leave there and I was like, I got to redeem this moment. So I'm like, Siri, tell me where to go to another pumpkin patch. So we found one and I'm trying to recreate the moment. It didn't go over well. But needless to say, that was a bad experience for us. We didn't feel like we belonged. There was nowhere to know where to go or what to do. And we just felt lost. And I would never go back there because of that experience. And you've probably had experiences like that in your life too, haven't you? Maybe it's a restaurant that you went to that you would never go back to. Maybe it was a person's house that just felt awkward and didn't feel like home and not inviting. Maybe it was that place that you went to that you thought was going to be greater. Or maybe it was even a church. And maybe some of you are here today and you're like last-ditch effort going to give another church a try. And I'm so glad that you've entrusted us with your time today, whether you're watching online at one of our physical campuses, because we really do. We take a big deal and pride in what we do every single week here at Atlee. And we've actually entitled this series, We Are Atlee, for that very reason, to talk about over the next few weeks how to understand our church, but also how you fit into our church and how you can belong here as well. And so real quick, I want you just to turn to somebody next to you and say, you are Atlee. Can you do that for me real quick at all of our campuses? Say, you are Atlee. You're like, okay, that just got weird. That's not my name, right? But trust me, hang in there. We'll make sense of this in a minute. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Trey. I'm one of the pastors here, and I'm so glad and honored to spend this next few moments with you because I believe what we're going to talk about today is very imperative to your faith and our church and how we can continue to grow as a church, but also that you can grow in your faith as well along for this journey. So if you've not known anything about Atlee, we call ourselves a church for the unchurched. And it plays into every single thing that we do every single week here. And our lead pastor, Jeff, has been walking us through over the last few weeks what our church is all about, our mission, our vision, our purpose. And he read this verse from Hebrews last week that really describes who we are and what we're going to do and what we're going to continue to do as a church because we believe this is kind of our mandate from God. And it's found in Hebrews 12:15, and it says this, "See to it that no one falls short of the grace." Everybody say grace. Fall short of the grace of God, and that no bitter root grow up to cause trouble and defile many. And then I love the language that Eugene Peterson uses in the Message translation of this verse, Hebrews 12:15 as well. It says this, "Make sure no one gets left out of God's generosity." Make sure no one gets left out. Because here's what we're all about here. We want to make sure that every single person experiences God's grace and truth in their life. That you leave here knowing that how much God loves you and he's for you and that he has a plan and purpose for your life. And it's not just enough to say it because a lot of people and churches can say that, but we believe it and we also want to put it into practice. And so we've created a plan. It's kind of like if you watch sports and football, it's kind of like it's coming together and creating the plays that we choose to use every single week to make sure that this particular verse gets lived out in our day-to-day lives and our day-to-day faith. And Jeff kind of went over the first three of those in our 7-step strategy, which is our playbook for a church of how to grow in our faith and be the church that God has called us to be. And so this week, we're going to go to that plan, and we're going to look at the next two things that helps us grow in our faith and experience this grace in our lives like never before. And so here's the deal. The we are Atlee piece in this, it isn't church staff. It isn't like the greatest of our volunteers. It isn't our pastor. It isn't like the people who do the most. The we in the We Are Atlee is literally you. It's every single one of you who call this place home and who maybe just decided to check this out today. This is our church family, and you all play a part in making this church happen every single week, whether you realize it or not. But all of us need to understand that we're not just people in the stands watching the game, but we get the opportunity to actually play a part in this. And today, that's what I want to spend our time talking about, is how to actually make that happen and how to be a part of what we do here every single week. And so if I had a goal to accomplish during our next few moments together, it's this. It's to move from this idea of attending to this idea of belonging. To move it from this idea of just attending a church service to actually belonging to a church family. Because so many people could come in and attend, and we're so glad that you do that. But here's the thing, while our church is a great place to attend, it's an even better place to belong. While our church is so much fun to attend, and I hope you enjoy it, I promise you it's an even better place to belong. But many of you probably say, how do I do that? How do I belong to a church family, and what does it take to get there? And so as we think about our next steps and our next strategy, I want you to think about what that could look like in your faith journey and how you could belong here to Atlee even more than what you're already attending now. And some of you are probably thinking in your mind, but dude, you don't know my schedule. Our family's busy. I'm a very busy person. We have work, we have sports, we have hobbies, we have things. It's hard to commit to anything else. But the great thing about that is we're busy people too. We get it. We all have busy lives here on staff and as a church. And so we've designed specific ways to help you busy people just like us be involved here in church in so many different ways and levels. And I don't want you to dismiss getting involved and belonging because of a busy schedule, because these things that we're going to talk about today are so important and will help you grow in your faith and your life more than you ever could imagine. And so let's take a look at the next part of our 7-step strategy together. Let's look at all the ones that we've, kind of looked at. You'll kind of see these developed in logos that we've created for this series. But also, we'll dive into the two we're going to talk about today. And the first one that we're going to look at today is to participate in a small group. Everybody say small group. Okay, small group. You're wondering, what is a small group? Where did that come from? What's that all about? Well, you've been at Atlee any length of time. We like to take these moments where we develop community together and get to know one another. And we find this at the very first church in creation. That Jesus is kind of off the scene now, and there's these guys, and they're trying to figure out how to do church, and they kind of create this community, and then it just kind of grows and expands from there, from what Jesus had taught them and left them with. It's found in the New Testament of our Bible in the book of Acts. And if you want to turn there with me, if you got a Bible this morning, we're going to look at Acts 2, 42 through 47. And this is kind of when the church begins, and you'll get to see kind of the things that they did. And what we do is we model a lot of what they did in the very beginning after what we do today. And a lot of churches do this as well. It's because there's something so important that was established in the very first church that we take seriously here because we believe it leads to tremendous growth in our lives. Acts 2 says this, 42, they devoted themselves to the apostle teachings and fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many signs and wonders performed by the apostles. All the believers were together. Everybody say together. Okay, making sure you're with me. Together. And they had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes. They ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. Now, there's a lot that this particular group is doing. My favorite part in this is that they ate together, because that's what families do, right? We got to eat together. That's how we grow together. Amen? Okay, cool. Maybe it's just me. But For me, I love all the things that they did in here. They hung out together. They did life together. If they saw somebody in need, they went and helped them. There was this idea that they were in it to be together. And there was something so special about what was created in this early church. And I think there's a lot for us to learn and to grow from when we see things like this modeled for us. It wasn't just they gathered in the big group, which was great, and this is important, what we do every single Sunday morning. But what's even better is to get around a group of people and to do life together. One commentary I read said it this way. It said that, no one was making them do this, and they set the example that would change the course of history. See how these Christians loved one another? They were concerned for one another. They sympathized with one another, and they were heartily interested in one another's interests. They had fellowship with each other in religious worship, but joint fellowship with God was the best fellowship that they could have with one another. And I don't know about you, but I've always wanted a tight-knit group of people in my life. I've always wanted to have this group of people that I did life with, that I was close to, that I could call family outside of my immediate family. It was kind of like when I grew up watching the TV show Friends. Anybody watch Friends? See, I always loved that group of people, how they always hung out together. And there was like the Central Perk, right? The coffee shop that they all hung out at. And it was like this place where they got to spend time with each other, laugh and joke and cry. And I always loved this scene because I always wanted this kind of relationship with people in my life. And I know many of us are like, well, that's unrealistic to have that kind of like close-knit group in our lives. But what I found is a lot of people, I thought about, as much as I watched that TV show, look at the window out there. How many people walked past that coffee shop and saw this group of people meeting, and they wished they could be a part of it? But they just kept walking. They didn't go in, and they didn't sit around the circle to see if they could connect with that group of friends as well. And I found that so true in the life of the church as well. We have some great groups that meet every single week with each other and do life together. But I think there's a big majority of us that when we come to church on Sunday mornings and we hear about small groups, we immediately tune out because we're like the people walking past the window. We're like, that's great for them, but that's not for me. But my challenge for you today is you're missing out on something that God created for us to have. He created us to have this sense of community in our lives. It's so important for us to move from the window of the scene onto the couch and doing life with other people. And for some of you, if you're extroverts like me, this sounds like a lot of fun, right? Yeah, I get to hang out with people, I get to do life together, that sounds fun. But for some of you that are more introverts, you're like, this sounds like a nightmare, right? Like, I do not want this in my life. But here's the thing, no matter what your personality type, no matter what your Enneagram number is this morning, we all need community. We all need each other more than we will ever realize or admit to ourselves. And the bad thing about what we've been through since the pandemic is we've been stuck in isolation for way too long. And what's happened is that's just become a part of who we are. And we're having a hard time reconnecting with other people. I know for me, I found this to be true in my life, and I found it to be true in so many people I talk to are just starting to see the side effects of the isolation in their life. And so we do need each other. And so what exactly is a small group here at Atlee? And how do I get involved in that? The first thing that small groups are is they are a sense of authentic community. Small group is how we take a large church like ours that meets in rows, and we get in these smaller kind of pocket groups, and we meet in circles. And we do Bible studies, we do life studies, we hang out together, and we have time and fellowship with one another. We move from attending service in rows to doing life together in circles because we know that we need both in our lives. It's great to come in here and learn the truths about God and open up His Word together. But man, is it incredible to get in a group and talk about these things and how to actually apply them to our lives. You and I need each other more than we realize. There's also this idea of spans of care because a church our size, it's hard for us to take care of everybody just from a staff perspective. But man, when we get around circles and really get to know each other, you get to know people's needs more and people get to know your needs. You get opportunities to pray with each other, to help each other. I've seen these small groups become so close that, man, if something goes wrong or someone's in the hospital, those are the first people to be there to help and to pray and to bring meals. And those are the kind of things you get to experience when you do life together with people in circles, in small groups here at Atlee. I found this quote this week that I thought really summarized why we do small groups more and more. And here's what it said. It says, the need for connection and community is primal, as fundamental as the need for air, water, and food. That's how important community is in our lives. It's essential to how God designed us to live. We need each other. But in order to do that, we have to be willing to step out into this step in our 7-step strategy and be a part of it. And so for you, have you ever tried a small group? Have you ever gotten around to do life with people? I would encourage you to do that. We're about to finish our winter group session now, and we'll start a spring one coming up here in the next few weeks, and you'll see that on our website and on our app. And my challenge to you is to look through all of those groups and find ones that work for you. We have ones that meet online, ones that meet at our Scottsville campus, ones that meet all around here in Mechanicsville in different communities, and even online if your schedules are crazy. But find a group in which you can belong here at Atlee and really find the community that you need in your life. And so that's the first one I wanted to share with us today. The second one we want to look at together today, not only do we want to belong and have a small group, we also want to find an area and serve on a ministry team. Everybody say serve. So it's not just enough to come, and while that's fun, but serving takes it up to another level because you realize that God has given you some unique talents, some unique gifts, some unique things that you could really use to help so many people. But when a lot of times when we just come in here, attend, we never get to see God use us to our fullest potential to make a difference in the life of somebody else. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to go through life worried just about me and my needs all the time. I want to use what God has given me in order to help somebody else. Because I realize that God didn't design me just for myself. He designed me with the things that are in my life so that I could use those things to make a difference. And at the core of who we are, I think we would all want to admit that we want to make a difference. We want our lives to count for more than just surviving. And so if you want to do that, you have to choose to serve, choose to make a difference. And there's people all around here every single week that do so many incredible things to make a difference in the lives of so many. If you'll take a look at this picture, we took kind of some of our teams, and there's people that greet and help with our kids and sing on the stage and choose to take time out of their busy lives in order to help somebody else. Like when you walked into church today, you had greeters who wanted to give you a warm smile and say welcome and say hello and check in on you. And then when you walk back to our kids area and you dropped your kids off, there are people that want to teach your kids about Jesus and they want to help them in their faith journey. There are people that showed up here this weekend to help fill potholes in our parking lot and to help make a difference so that when you pulled in that you felt like we took care of the facilities here. There are people that do so many things, that lead small groups, that do all these things throughout the week to help ensure that people are getting the help that they need. They're using the talents and the things that God's given them in order to make a difference in somebody else. And so just think about this. What would your picture look like up here today? What could God use you to do to help make a difference in the life of somebody else? Whether it be here at the church or through some of our partner ministries that we have that serve all over the community with feeding people and helping people on a daily basis. The idea I love our church is not just about us. I love that our church chooses to make a difference in the lives of this community. That if we weren't here, that there would be some gaps because of the things that we do in order to help so many people around us. And I think a verse that summarizes this so well, we were in our volunteer appreciation where we brought all of our volunteers from our kids ministry, our student ministry, our parking lot team, our tech team in the back, our band, all these people got together And one of our staff members read this verse, and I thought it was so fitting to what we do every single week. It's this in Ephesians 2:10. It says this, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." Think about that. When God made you, when God formed you and created you, he gave you the gifts and talents that you have for a reason. And when you can take those and not just use them to serve yourself, but to serve others around you, think about the difference that you can make in somebody else's life. What if we all decided to do that? What if we all said, you know what, I'm willing to give up some time in my life in order to help somebody else? What would our church look like? What would our community look like? What would the world around us look like? If we chose to stop being so selfish with our time, and we decided that we were going to use our life in order to help somebody else's. And not only that, can I tell you, one of the best things about serving on a ministry team here is we have a lot of fun together. Just before our Christmas Eve services, take a look at this picture. This is a bunch of us goofs all around. Look at that. I mean, there's some crazy group of people that we get together and have so much fun serving together with. And trust me, when you're not on these teams, you miss out on all this fun that we get to have together. And I want to see more of you in this picture because each of you have something to offer somebody else. And you literally could use your life to count. And it not only impacts other people, but guess what? It also impacts you. If you talk to anybody that helps somebody else, listen to what they say and how it helps them as well. The Bible even tells us about it as well in Proverbs 11:25. Listen to this passage. "The generous will prosper. Those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed." Isn't that cool? So that when we help and serve other people, guess what? We get refreshed and a difference is made in our life as well. And so how could that become you today? How do you figure that out? Well, here at Atlee, we have this thing called the spiritual gifts test, and it kind of helps you identify some of those things that God has put in your life for a reason. And I would challenge you today, whether you take it online on our website or you find one of the spiritual gift tests on your way out at our Connect desk, there's a way to identify what you're good at and what God has given you in your life to help other people. So I would challenge you to take that and together find a place in which you can serve. Because here, Helen Keller said it best. I love this quote. "Alone we can do so little, but together," everybody say together. Together we can do so much. Listen, I know our church has some great things in store. I know our church has the potential to make a huge difference in the life of this community in which we're in. But we need you. We can't do it alone. We only have but so many resources and gifts of our own. But each of you, when you bring yours to the table, together we can do so much. And for me, I know this is a lot of information this morning. I know this is like, wow, I don't know if I can do all of that. But here's the deal. You can take what God's given you and you can make a difference in the lives and you can grow in your spiritual journey more than ever before if you were to take these two things and apply them to your life. And I've gotten to see how they have made a difference in my life. Because I know during the pandemic, we came in here every single Sunday and we filmed online church when we weren't open. And trust me, it was so hard some mornings to get up and to come here and talk to a camera. And I was just praying some of y'all were on the other end watching because it was really awkward for a while. But you know what kept me energized and going? Was coming here and seeing this group and handful of volunteers take their time and energy and schedules and show up with us. They came in and ran these cameras. They came in and ran the tech and the sound and all these things. And it brought me so much energy seeing people sacrifice their time to help our church. And I got to see them be Jesus to so many people during that time that it made a difference in my life, as I hope that I was helping make a difference in the lives of others as well. And so I don't want you all to miss out on this because there's an incredible opportunity for each of you to find a place to belong in community, but also to make a difference in the life of somebody else. And today I want to introduce you to one of those people that we've helped make a difference in their life. And now they want to take their story in life and make a difference in somebody else. And so I want to share this lady. Her name is Tammy. She was in our last membership class and she shared her story. And Jeff and I were like blown away by listening to some of the things that led her to be a part here at Atlee. And we wanted an opportunity to share her story with you today. And I'm so glad she was willing to share it. So as you take a listen to this, listen for the things that she put into practice in her life and the difference that it made in her life. But now, the difference she's also going to make in so many others' lives because of this. Take a look at Tammy's story.
My past has been kind of rocky. I actually lost faith in God. When I was probably in high school, I started to struggle with depression, but I really didn't know it was depression back then. I thought being a female, I really thought it was just hormonal related. So I grew up with 4 brothers, and my dad was a captain in the Marine Corps. So he ran a really very tight ship. He actually then became an exceptional ed teacher, but having 4 brothers, I always had to be the toughest one. During high school, I just partied a lot, I drank a lot, and again, all those emotions, I would come home from school crying, and I would shut my door, I wouldn't tell anybody, but then I would go to school the next day and act like everything was okay, and that just continued throughout all my years. Even in college, it got worse, and then I started to notice some things of going up, where some days I wouldn't sleep, and I would spend a lot of money, and it just became rough, and I got angry at God. I was like, why me? Why am I going through this? Then I started to, like I said, lose faith. I really didn't trust God. I stopped praying. I stopped going to church. It just became a very dark place for me, and I felt like God left me. It took a long time. It took for me to be, it took acceptance of what was happening. In college, like I said, it just started continuing. I kept drinking a lot more and more. I started to do a little bit self-harm, so I was a big cutter for a long time. And then I actually broke down. And I just, I remember staying home one day and just crying and just praying to God, saying, God, if you're here, I need help. Why would you leave me? Why would you help me suffer? And I don't know, something in the back of my mind said, be open with my parents. So I went to my parents about what I was feeling, and we went and got help. And we actually went to the emergency room that night, and I actually spent 7 days in a psychiatric hospital. And that's when I was diagnosed with, I cope with bipolar disorder. But then a big change came when I moved down here to Richmond, Virginia, and that's when I think God really started speaking to me, because I actually ended up being hospitalized again because I actually had a mania episode where I was up for 5 days straight, and I didn't sleep not even an hour. And I was just way out of control. And when I went into the hospital, I kid you not, this is such a true story. There was a gentleman there, and I swear it was an angel, because when he spoke to me, he said, the counselor was there, and he sat down, he said, well, we have 2 roads to take. You can either take the road you're going, and I'll see you back here, because I was still drinking, I was still cutting, I wasn't taking my medication like I was supposed to. He said, or you can use this road and help people. And I really think that was God speaking to me, because he said, you're going to be okay. And I just started crying, and that's when my journey with God started to happen again. Well, what I do to help me keep going with my plan, and after being a suicide attempt survivor, as I would say, I honestly, when I had made that attempt, the room went black, and I really thought I was gone. And like I said, after my second hospitalization, I realized God has me here for a purpose. And now I had to dig deep and find out what that purpose was. And now I know what that purpose is, and that is to help people. I also am an educator, so I do teach middle school, and I share my story with them to a point. I don't share all the details, but I let them know that, hey, I struggle, with a mental health condition, and I want them to know it's going to be okay. But now my plan is I just take my medication, I don't drink anymore, and I pray to God every day. One of my routines in the morning is I put my gospel music on, because I don't know about anybody else, but there's something about gospel music that just brightens my day. I can have the worst morning. As soon as I put that on, it just makes me feel so much better. And on my way to work, I talk to God. I thank him for everything that he's done for me. And then that's when I lift him up in praise. And it may sound different for some people, but the scars that I have on my body, I almost feel like I can relate to God even more because of what he went through. But I do. I pray every morning. I give him thanks for what I have. And then if I have prayer requests, that's when I do. So it's me and God talking in the morning, every single morning while I'm jamming out to my gospel music. You know, you always start out and say how it's a safe place. And I'm not kidding you, it's a safe place. You have been welcoming, Jeff has been welcoming, and I reach out and I finally did a Bible study. Now I went to the last 2 sessions, but at least I went to one and I loved it. So then now I'm doing another one as well. I'm doing the one about anxiety. And I'm telling you, it's been fantastic. We have a smaller group and we just talk and you feel like a family. And so it really has grown my faith in God because, like I said, I really truly hated him. There was such a hatred for him because why would you let people suffer through this? I didn't understand the purpose, and now I realize it actually made me a stronger person. Sometimes you got to take a step back and realize it sounds corny to people, but I now believe things happen for a reason. And this mental health condition, not only did it bring me closer to God, but it also brought me closer to my family because it had torn my relationship apart with my family because they had no idea why I was acting the way I was acting. I didn't know. And now it actually has brought us together. So again, it might sound a little crazy to people, but God always has a reason for the things that not that he does, but the things that happen in your life. Just rely on him. It's going to be okay. What led me to want to be a member is because I want to be able to get, believe it or not, even closer with my relationship with God. I want to see how can I help people, even if it's just a greeter. I am a very outgoing person. I like to meet new people, so I felt like, why not? To me, church is a great place to meet people. And again, if somebody is suffering, I want to be that shoulder to lean on. I can't really talk more than enough about how great Atlee is. You guys have truly, and I've only been coming to you guys for less than a year, but I already feel like I'm just family.
Can we just take a moment real quick, though, and give it up for Tammy to be willing to share her story like that? The way Tammy finishes the video, she leaves by saying how she's got connected here to Atlee. She was a part of our membership class, and now she wants to take her life and her story and help make a difference in the life of somebody else who's gone through what she's gone through. And at the end, she said, I've only been coming here for a few short months, but this place has become family. And I don't know about you, but to hear somebody with her story and only been coming here for a little while and say that phrase means the world to us because that's what we're all about. Helping people not miss out on the grace of God. No matter what their past, no matter what they've been through, no matter how far gone that they feel, no matter how depressed they feel, no matter how lonely they feel, our job is to help people connect to this family and belong. But that doesn't happen by accident. It happens by intentionality. And so for you all, we want to tell you about this plan, but it's up to you whether you want to do something about it or not. And I love Tammy's story because she just jumped right in. She came to a membership class. She jumped into a small group where she's learning and studying about anxiety in the Bible right now. And she's choosing to take her life and help make a difference in the lives of others who have been through what she's going through. And because of that, she's growing in her faith like never before. And the same can be true of your life as well. Because here's the thing, this is for everybody. This isn't just for a select few. Each and every one of us can choose to belong here. You can find a place to serve, and you can find a group to attend. And I pray today that you would take full advantage of all that we offer here at Atlee to choose to be connected, because there's no better way to live. If I were to sum up everything that we talked about today in just a phrase, here's the way I would put it. We're designed to do life with others and to use our life for others. We're designed to do life with one another, not just to attend, but to belong, and then to use our lives to help other people. And so when you came in today, you got a card that looked like this. And I want you just to take a moment and just look over. Here's all the teams that we have every single week that serve and make a difference here at Atlee. And if God puts anything on your heart, a way that you can serve, a way that you could help, I mean, we are jumping back into another service come here in a few weeks, and we're going to need all the help we can get so that we can continue to teach people and to help people what God's grace is all about in their lives. But we need your help. And so if you could consider, think about, pray about joining a team here at Atlee. And also when our groups come available in the next few weeks, find a group of people that you can circle around and do life with, because we all need each other as we're going to continue to move forward in life. And so at the end of each service, what we like to do is give you some questions to think about, just to not just hear what we're talking about today, but to apply it to your life. And so here are 3 questions I want to give you. You could talk about them at lunch today. You can use them as discussion with your family or friends later. They're on our Atlee app, so definitely find them on there. You can take a picture of them if you want, talk about it later. But here are the 3 questions I want you to think about today is this. Is it easy or difficult for you to do life with other people? Is it easy or difficult for you to do life with other people? Why or why not? And I want you to really write that down. Why is it that you have a hard time connecting with people? Why is it that you choose not to be in a group, or that you are in a group and that you have found a place to do life with? Think about that. And then what kind of people do you need in your life right now? I know a lot of us, we need certain people in our lives to help us get the help that we need during this time. Who are those people in your life that you need? And then lastly, where could I use my life and my gifts to make a difference? Each and every one of us are ingrained with the idea to do life with others and to make a difference, but we have to choose to do something about it. And today, I hope and pray that you wouldn't just hear the steps in our strategy, but that you would become a part of this strategy and make it a part of your life and your faith as well. And so take time to think about those questions this week. And like I said, I know a lot of this is hard, not that it's easy. For those who've been in groups and serve, you know the benefits. But for those of you just coming in and hearing this, it can be a little overwhelming and daunting. You're like, I don't know about all this. But literally, I promise you that there's huge benefits as we apply these things to our life and our faith. And so I want an opportunity to pray for you as we leave here today. So let's go ahead and stand up at all of our locations. If you're watching online or watching in a car, you can stay seated. But everybody else, let's stand up. And I just want an opportunity to pray for you today that you'd be able to take what we talked about, take what the Bible teaches, explore it for yourself, and be able to put it into practice. So let's pray together today. Jesus, we thank you so much for our time together. God, we thank you for a church like ours who exist to help people experience your grace and truth in our lives. And God, I pray today, as we learn about these things, that we would be able to not only hear them, but to apply them. God, that we would find a group to do life with. And God, we would find a place that we can make a difference. God, I thank you for all the gifts and talents and people that are represented in here, that we would all say we are Atlee. And God, that we wouldn't just attend here, but that we would choose to follow you, to belong and find family and community here at church. We love you, we praise you, and God, I thank you for today, and I just pray that you continue to be with us this week as we put these things into practice in our lives. And it's in Jesus' name we pray, amen. And everybody said? Amen. Amen. Can we got a hand for our time together today? Awesome. Well, 2 quick things as you leave. If you do want to fill out that card, drop it in one of the offering boxes on the way out, or somebody in our connection desk. There's also a prayer room across if you want someone to talk or pray with. And then lastly, if you would like to know more about the church, ask questions, become a member here. We'll be meeting all the way down the hall to the right, and we'd love to get to know you, and you get a free lunch. So come hang out with us. But other than that, have a great Sunday, and we'll see you back here next week. Have a blessed Sunday, guys. Well, thanks so much again for stopping by. If you have any questions or would like to get connected here at Atlee Church, we would love to help or serve you any way that we can. And if God is doing something awesome in your life, we'd love to hear about it. You can email us directly at stories@atleechurch.org. And if you would like to support the ministries here at Atlee financially, you can go to our website and click the top tab, Give, and that helps us continue to get these messages out there and make a difference in the lives of so many. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we hope to see you again next week.